Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's 30-minute webinar from MeetingsNet. It's called Instagram It, Why Experiences Are the Hottest Incentive and Meeting Amenity. I'm Betsy Bear, and I'm the Content Director for MeetingsNet. So happy that you're joining us. You know, it could be 1998 all over again, and I can't believe it was really that long ago when Joseph Pine and James Gilmore coined the phrase the experience economy in the Harvard Business Review. Just last May, Brookings Institution authors concluded in a report that the millennial generation's influence will be all-pervasive, and I quote, "In the future, most Americans, taking their cues from millennials, will display a greater reverence for the environment and less interest in the acquisition of things as opposed to experiences," end quote. Incentive travel has always really been about offering those experiences that qualifiers couldn't arrange for or afford on their own. But today, your attendees of all ages and at meetings and incentives want personal, authentic, unique experiences where they can snap selfies and they can share their awesomeness on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. So, to kick off our 2015 Engagement and Experience webinar series, we've invited two experts to talk about experience as that new amenity. At this point, I would like to thank our sponsors who made today's educational webinar possible: the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and Treasure Island of Las Vegas. Now, just a bit about your console. There are two important red buttons at the bottom of your screen. One is the Q&A widget where you can type in your questions, and we'll try to get to a few at the end of our half hour. And the other is for the evaluation form, which we really hope you'll fill out as well, and you can do that at any time. You can also take advantage of social networking. Feel free to tweet tidbits from today to your followers at meetingsnet.com. I'd also like to invite you to download our own MeetingsNet Interactive Magazine app for tablet and phone. Those links are on the top of your console. And if you experience any difficulties audio-wise or advancement of your slides, simply press your F5 key to refresh. Today's agenda, briefly, why experiences are so important to the attendee, why you should treat your attendees like consumers, what kinds of experiences ring true, and a lot of other good stuff. So right now, I am going to ask our two presenters to tell us a little bit about themselves. First, we have Carrie McGrath.
Thank you, Betsy, and thanks everyone for your attendance today. As you can see on the slide, I am the VP of Customer Experience at Creative Group, Inc. And with that role, I am allowed to have a lot of visibility into how the trends that we're going to talk about today in terms of experience economy and experience in meetings show up in the choices that our customers are making to enhance their events. I've been in the industry for about 20 years and have been in this role overseeing our operations team for a couple of years now, and so hopefully I can provide some real-life experience and examples related to what we're speaking about today.
Thank you so much. And now we have Roger Stotts.
Thanks, Betsy. As you can see, I'm Chief Research Officer of the Incentive Research Foundation. And in that role, I get the privilege of conducting research, overseeing research, and working with researchers in the area of incentives and their use in business, as well as providing input to our educational program with the Research Foundation. Prior to that, I've had the opportunity to be in the industry for many, many years with incentive travel, meetings, incentive programs, and just thoroughly enjoy the opportunity to share some of those experiences and to hopefully give you a few pointers today.
Very good. Thank you so much, Roger. And I'm going to actually ask you to kick things off and tell us a bit about the evolution of experiences and how it relates to meetings and incentives.
Well, again, thanks, Betsy. And let's get started right away by taking a step back. And Betsy, you'd mentioned the article that really sort of set the stage for thinking about experiences. And in the Harvard Business Review article that Mr. Pine and Gilmore talked about, it also talked about the fact that while we deliver services, we stage experiences. And it really is how we create new economic value. And we've seen that throughout consumerism, but one of the real standouts in the past to sort of give us a starting point was the Disney organization. And they understood the whole concept of creating these magical experiences. And in fact, they were one of the first ones who started to respond to their employees as cast members. And so they were really ahead of their times in terms of this whole concept of looking at it through the lens of experience and the real value that that brings economically to them and then the experience to the individuals. But in terms of why experiences are so important as it has evolved from 1998, if we jump ahead and look at the millennials, and Betsy, you had mentioned the impact that millennials are having on our economy and our incentive and meeting plans, this is interesting, I think, data in terms of the numbers that say 72% would rather spend their money on experiences than a thing. You'd mentioned and referred to that. 81% say they value experiences over material things. 70% crave experiences that stimulate their senses. So not only are we talking experiences, but experiences that have a unique impact on the individuals. And I think one of the things from another article in Harvard Business Review very recently in 2011 talked about that experiences are memorable events that engage each person in an inherently personal way and thereby create a memory as the hallmark of that experience. So we're really looking, particularly when we talk about incentive travel, is creating that memory that has a hallmark of that experience. What do you take back? And that's not something that is brand new to us, but I think it has become much more relevant than ever. And so we're really looking today as time is the currency of all experiences. And in addition, while we talk about millennials, and Betsy mentioned it and I've reinforced that, we're not finding that it's only the millennials. In fact, if you look at the consumer market, we're really seeing that we're looking at all types of organizations that are looking at experiences, and they're not focusing just on the millennials. And some of the examples that you see on your screen are well-known organizations that have really capitalized on creating a unique experience for their consumers, their customers. And I think that's really critical in terms of thinking of this not just as a millennial issue, but as a issue for all of our attendees, and then to start thinking about what types of experiences would be most meaningful to them. So let me ask Carrie, would you give us a few examples maybe of what you're seeing in the meetings and incentive events that you're designing?
Sure, Roger. So as Roger has described, experiences are playing a critical role in all of our environments and all of our choices. You know, they drive where we choose to spend our leisure time, where we dine, how we travel. And consider for a moment some of the highly connected environments that are created for consumers. Starbucks as the third space, the piano playing when you're shopping at Nordstrom's, the Genius Bar at Apple. These types of experiences that are very personalized are surrounding our meeting attendees on a daily basis. Attendees now arrive at our meetings and events expecting to find their experience really aligned with the environments they have exposure to outside of work, and they're really excited by sort of those Instagram-worthy moments. You know, what have I done or what has happened to me here that's worth posting and telling people about? We're needing to shift the thinking of the meeting goer as a passive attendee to really an active participant in the event. And while attendance at the meeting or the event might not be a choice, engagement level is really dependent on the environment that we create. In the past, the planning of meetings was really driven by the content that was to be delivered, but now we're really being challenged to do more. You know, it remains really critical to deliver messaging, but it's much more likely, we notice, to be recalled and remembered through the experiences that surround it. It's no longer, as Betsy mentioned, just the incentive programs or the dinners or awards or celebration events that need to be high impact, but instead we're looking for ways to create impact from the minute attendees arrive. It's all about connecting the rational to the emotional, the head with the heart, to create experiences that really connect with the attendee at the event and even after in some cases. Some examples of things that we have seen with customers, and really, again, starting with that as soon as they arrive at the event, we're starting to experience, it used to be, a hospitality desk with 2 tables with a cloth over the top and a couple chairs behind it. Now we're looking at building branded experiences, registration areas that have music, lounge furniture, food, creating a vibe that starts the meeting experience the minute they walk in the door. Rather than just a sign on an easel that tells you where to go, we're looking at digital signage and seeing that being used for interactive messaging throughout the event. It might be used to show employee photos, snapshots from the activities, key messages that are being communicated out through the event and that we want to continue the messaging all week or for the days that people are there, and updated information on the agenda. Mobile apps are playing a huge part in this, and that might be gamification, photo books, attendee live chat, and Twitter streams that are being shown during the meeting. So all different ways that messaging, and from the moment they begin, starts being put out and communicated to start creating that experience. So Roger, back to you. What research specifically shows how strategies have changed in incentive and awards?
Thanks, Carrie. It's my turn to kind of delve into the research. As you might have suspected with my title, I can't leave without bringing some research up. And what I'd like to share with you is just one piece of data from a recent survey that we do. And I would like to share also that if you're interested in more research, please go to the website for the Incentive Research Foundation. And we have pulse surveys on there that we've taken over the last 5 years to show the trends. And this is just one example of one data point from one of the most recent surveys. And what we're seeing in terms of the size and duration of events, as you look there, the blue line, the total number of days, nights are being reduced. And so what we started back in May of 2010, we saw, again, with the Great Recession, that 50% of the programs were reducing the number of nights on their programs. Well, the good news is, as you can see from the blue line, and we'll talk more about the red line, that trend has slowed to where now it's down in the around 10% are still reducing days and nights. But on the other hand, we're seeing that, again, another 10% are increasing. So the bottom line to take away from this chart is in the past economic downturn, one of the things that organizations have done have reduced the number of rooms, in other words, participants, and the number of nights. And that was unfortunate, but the good news is it's leveled off. But when they look at strategies, how do we take and make more in terms of the programs we have? What are we doing? The sponsors have started to look at other ways besides the traditional to help bring more experience to the participants. And so what we're looking at is the changing strategies. And these 3 areas are 3 that we've identified that organizations are doing to try to increase that experiential impact of their programs. So one, in terms of enhancing the program. And again, this is not something that's totally new, but what's happening is people are, organizations and program planners are really trying to say, what can we do that's unique? What's different? Can we add some more special opportunities for people to have different and unique experiences? Another area that they have looked at is looking at all-inclusive. Now, all-inclusive has been around for some time, but one of the things it has allowed organizations to do is offer more options, more flexibility. And again, if you look at the millennial generation as well as, and again, it's not just millennials, but all of the generations in the workforce today, flexibility and ability to have autonomy and make choices is a real positive. And then finally, another one we saw was looking at the venue options. Maybe not going to as many traditional sun and fun options as historically, but to look at really saying, does the venue offer any unique other areas that we can do while we're there? Is there a more exciting situation that we can look at? And one of the things that we have seen that is driving this, and this does go to the millennial generational impact, is while the older generations are looking for all kinds of experiences, the millennials want very unique, very exceptional, very active type of options. Going just to stay at the beach is always nice, but they would like that plus something else. So there's a number of things that are impacting how we utilize our efforts and our budget as we look at the changing demographics and the need for experiences, which leads us to look at what experiences should we be looking at. Now, we've identified a couple of areas that have grown, and I'm not going to cover all of them, and I'm sure those of you who are listening have a lot of experience in terms of different types of experiences. But let me talk about two that we've seen emerging over the last 2 to 3 years to a greater and greater degree. And the first one is wellness tourism. Now, if you haven't really heard about this or spent much time, there is a website that is tracking this, and we've been in contact with the individual who organizes that, the WTW, which is Wellness Tourism Worldwide. And it's really this whole concept of improving well-being and economic growth through travel, and it's different from medical tourism. This is really looking at how people spend their free time, their vacation time, and that is now bleeding over, as we talked about earlier, the consumer trends leading into the incentive experience in the area of looking at how you incorporate wellness into your overall program. And what we're seeing more and more is the opportunity to include health and wellness, various, whether it's exercise and yoga, whether it's runs and hiking, whether it's the spa. And I just want to spend a minute on that from a spa point of view. Spa has been a continually growing experience in terms of incentive travel and meetings in general at locations. It's very popular. However, what we've seen is the trend towards spas, rather than being sort of a extravagant experience, it's now becoming a wellness experience. And it's being done in terms of mind and body and the holistic approach to wellness. And so it really is important to think about how are we blending this wellness experience and health into it. And in fact, health tourism, again, as you can see here, and coming up in February, and we're tracking this. And what we're seeing is more and more emphasis when you get into meetings and events in terms of what is the wellness aspect of it. Another experience is the whole concept of culinary, the pursuit of unique and memorable eating and drinking experiences. This area, and you've included things like farm to table, has been very popular. People are interested where their food comes from. What kind of food is it? How do you prepare the food? What are the different geographical and cultural issues in terms of this? And there's actually culinary tours, as you've seen. And so, again, as that has grown, it has become very popular in terms of how we handle it with the incentive market. So I think what's important about that is to take a look at how these various issues and experiences are being handled on site and get some real practical experience rather than just research. Carrie, would you like to share what you've been seeing?
Absolutely. Thanks, Roger. I think it's really important to recognize that what's happening, while all of that is a rising trend, we're seeing companies who are incorporating that into their culture in their organizations, and they want to bring that culture and that focus of wellness as part of their workday to the on-site experience. So, you may have the opportunity in the company that you work at where there's cafeterias offering healthy foods, fitness centers, mindfulness training, informal weight loss contests like The Biggest Loser, and they don't want to lose the focus when their employees start traveling for meetings. And so we've really seen a rise in focus on things like exclusive morning fitness classes for attendees. That's a place where you can incorporate that into the on-site experience. We have several clients that have a 5K fun run or walk as part of their program agenda. We're doing a lot of team building activities that are highly active: kickball, soccer, baseball, things that really are, a lot of activity and focused on that being fit and healthy and doing activities that align with that. You mentioned menus. Obviously, menus focusing on healthier options, snacks and breaks focused on a balance of protein with sugar. We've even seen one of our clients has an experience where when they're bringing their sales team on site and doing a lot of really intensive training on a new product that needs to be delivered, and they're going through the testing for the training perhaps towards the end of the event, we have a relaxation or chill lounge that's one of the rooms that they rotate through, and one of the rotations they might rotate through on testing day to kind of create that wellness balance on a highly intensive day. So, even the content has shifted to wellness in some cases. A recent program that we executed had an entire half day of content centered on energy management, and attendees could choose from various pod experiences that included things like massage, hands-on cooking experiences, and even financial wellness seminars. So that has really played out in a variety of different ways in the on-site experience. So I think the thing we want to talk about next, and again look at a little bit of research, Roger, is how have merchandise or gifts played into that experience as an amenity, in addition to the wellness and other things we've looked at?
It's a great question, and what we're seeing is a very much of an increase with merchandise experiences. And what we're seeing is that the old pillow gifts are now giving away to fitting experiences. So we're bringing merchandise in, but we're making it a unique experience. Going back to that one slide of data that I showed you with the red and green trend lines, what we're seeing is that less nights, and participants are yielding some additional budgeting for some of these unique experiences. We're seeing things like health and wellness being applied. So all of a sudden, fitting into this whole cultural impact of wellness and well-being, various merchandise items that can be added and to be encouraged to help support wellness. And even the idea of fittings, okay? So you've got wearable tech, smart watches, smart glasses, fitness trainers, solar panel jackets, sports bra, heart monitor. That's enough said on that for me. So anyway, there's a lot of technological clothing called tech clothing, as well as special fittings. And a lot of this is doing with the really upward trend in terms of biometric. So, Carrie, what are you seeing in terms of this trend?
Absolutely. I think you hit on a lot of things that we are seeing, and we're really finding that providing merchandise that fits the participant's lifestyle and is really a reflection of them, sort of that fashion focus, works to build connection and really circles back to the idea of treating the attendee like the consumer, which is where we really started this conversation. Beyond wellness gifts, there's a lot of customizable gift options that create almost an individual shopping experience for the attendees. We've done design your own Converse, and they get a lot more flamboyant looking than the ones that you see on the slide here. Design your own Nikes, design your own Timbuktu jeans, or Timbuktu bag, customized jeans. You know, a lot of options now in terms of really individual gifts. And the other thing, and we talked about before, kind of that head and heart, there's also a lot of options now with merchandise that connects to the heart. You know, the things that people care about and that make them feel good. So whether it be the opportunity to do something from Tom's or perhaps a charity donation in lieu of a gift, you know, we're seeing clients who are offering a choice of merchandise and having that charity component be one of those choices. So, you know, I think back to the title of this whole thing and Instagram it, you know, designing your shoes, picking your gift, and then capturing a screenshot of that and posting it on Instagram for everybody to see and sort of say, hey, look what's happening to me, this experience that I'm having at this meeting I'm attending, is one of the ways that we see this connecting back out then into the world.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great segue back to where we started in terms of experience are really a hot aspect of incentives. Incentive experience, and you mentioned Instagram, is that the whole social media situation, experiences feed the social media need, and I think that's a critical aspect of why these experiences are so great. They are memories that can be captured and shared. So let me turn it back now to Betsy and see what we can do in terms of if there are any questions that we could address.
Thank you, Roger. I would like to add that selfie stations have become a popular attribute at many meetings and incentives, and in fact, there were some set up at the Professional Convention Management Association conference I was at last week in Chicago. So you can even give your attendees vehicles in which to make it easier to do selfies and to post photos on Instagram. Couple of questions here. I would like to ask Roger this one, and Carrie, you can certainly chime in. Are there any cautions related to applying consumer experience trends to meetings and or incentive events?
Well, I would offer a couple of cautions, but one particularly is in this hypersensitive, connected world. When you're creating these various experiences in your event, you need to be very cognizant of what impact it might be if it's shared with the world. You need to be sensitive to the organizational culture. You need to be sensitive to the brand of the organization. And while we talked about, and Carrie did a nice job of mentioning how wellness and health are part of a culture, some other things that might evolve and go ahead of that might cause concerns if it were published in the wrong way. And so you always have to think about how would this look to the world, to our customers, to the rest of the organization who aren't at the meeting, and is there a way to make it a real plus and a real positive message without getting into a real important negative conversation, perhaps in the media. Carrie, did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that one. That's definitely a caution and something to be aware of, and be really connected to your client on understanding what their concerns about that might be.
I had a follow-up question if I could give some more details about selfie stations, and I certainly can, because here at MeetingsNet we've just done an article about it. So I will go ahead and make sure that all participants get a copy of that article if you are interested. And but we're coming down to the bottom of the hour. I would like everyone to know that this webcast will be archived and available for viewing on meetingsnet.com 24/7 starting tomorrow. I'd like to take a moment to thank our very smart panelists, Roger and Carrie. Thank our sponsors again, the Cosmopolitan, Treasure Island of Las Vegas, and the Las Vegas CVA. And thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a great day.